everybody, it's Sonia coming to you with Dorian Anderson of Biking for Birds. We're going to do another Q&A session. We are here at Pigeon Point, California, and today we're going to talk a little bit about his gear, since there have been some questions about what he's carrying and how he's carrying it. We'll start with a question from Jim Moyer in Louisville, Kentucky. He wants to know what you're shooting with and wants to know what lenses you're carrying, since he understands that weight and size can be a factor as a cyclist.
So if weight and size are the only considerations, then one of these kind of small point and shoots like the Sony or the Canon SX50 would be perfect. But being that I have really nice gear already, I was willing to carry a bit more weight in order to take, in my opinion, what I consider to be professional quality pictures. So in order to do that, I'm carrying an EOS 7D, which, as you asked, does have a crop sensor, which gives me 60% more reach than a full frame sensor. And for people who don't know anything about photography, don't worry about that. And on that body, so I take that body and I stick it in this hat. Actually, we'll come back to that in a second. And then I have my birding lens, which is a 400 5/6 lens, and it weighs about 3 pounds. And I couldn't bring my 500 because that weighs 9 pounds. And then I have my one kind of luxury item is I'm carrying a 17 to 40 wide angle lens that I use for pictures of landscapes and lighthouses and things like that. I really shouldn't be carrying this. This is a pound of weight I don't need, but again, I like having it with me. Then I've got my binoculars right here, and those are relatively light. And then I have the tripod on which the GoPro is now resting, which was donated by Hunts Photo, and that's only about 3.5 pounds. And then my telescope, which is really good, but really heavy. So this is probably between 4 and 5 pounds, probably closer to 5. But I wasn't going to spend another $4,000 on a new scope for this trip.
So one of the questions that Joanna Beam has asked is what kind of protection you're using for the camera and scope and binocs, and if you were to crash, how are you keeping your gear safe, and just that kind of stuff.
Okay, so really quickly what happens is that I have cases for this stuff. So I have this, that goes in there like that, and hopefully you can see the pen here. I'm actually going to pack this up for you as we do this. That goes in there, and then I have a case for this lens, and that goes in the front right. The camera I don't have a case for, but it goes into the wool hat. That goes there. The telescope gets strapped onto the back with the tripod, but the binoculars also get swallowed up by the bag. And then I can roll that down like so, and clip it. And then this is my optics bag, and this actually just gets clipped right onto the front right-hand side of the bike. Hopefully you can see that. So that's how I protect all this stuff.
All right, and the last question about gear is from Lindsay Wampler. Do you have any go-to camera settings? If you're trying to capture a bird in flight, are you always able to get them in focus square? Or do you use alternate method to focus / getting a crisp picture?
So because I don't know what the light conditions are going to be, I enjoy shooting in manual mode when I can, but I don't know what the light conditions are going to be on any given day. So I almost always leave the camera in AV, which is aperture priority, and leave the lens wide open because that's going to give me the best ability to stop action with the fastest shutter speed. So depending upon when I rip the camera out, usually I just try to get the bird onto the sensor to start with. If I have a bit more time, I start thinking about using exposure compensation to dial in more or less light to give me the proper exposure for the bird. I usually use single point spot focus in the middle. When I know I'm going to be shooting birds in flight, I use center point plus expansion, again with kind of spot metering and whatnot, and then I can adjust, or evaluative metering depending upon the situation, and adjust the amount of light either up or down just using exposure compensation, adding a third, a half, or a third, 2/3, or a full stop of light. So that's what I end up doing, and it's relatively basic. I think that for most people you should be shooting in AV mode. And wow, some huge mammal just jumped out of the water out there. I don't know if it was a dolphin or what it was, but it made a big splash. Sorry, we're like right at the beach. So with that, I should probably return to birding, so I'll give you a quick panoramic view of what's going on here. Sonia's going to do it, so you can see we're actually at the beach. Mark Kudrav is over here. He's very focused on seabirding at the moment, and this is like all Pigeon Point and beautiful Central Coast California here. So with that, we'll let you guys go for the moment.
All right.